Good morning. Welcome to JoyNews Desk. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle. We're on DTT because we're free to work. Coming up this morning, minority in Parliament clash with police over decision to protest within the Bank of Ghana vicinity as they proceed with their Occupy Bank of Ghana demo. This morning, we'll be live on the ground for the latest details. Over 90% of Ghanaian kidney failure patients who should receive dialysis are not getting it. That's according to a yet-to-be-published study put together by a nephrologist at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. We'll share details with you on our Dialysis a Crisis series for today. And from defiance to dedication, Naomi's orphanages shine as a beacon of hope for the vulnerable children. Details on today's episode of Stories of Hope. All of these plus many more coming up shortly on JoyNews Desk. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Do stay for details. Apologies for that break there. The minority in Parliament and police are locking horns over the decision to protest near the Bank of Ghana premises. The police yesterday served notice it will not allow any protest within the vicinity of the Bank of Ghana headquarters as a minority proceeds with its planned Occupy Bank of Ghana demonstration. The protest, which has been postponed on several occasions due to differences between the organizers and the police because of the choice of route for the protest, is to protest historic laws recorded by the Central Bank. Director of Public Affairs of the Ghana Police Service, ACP Grace Ansah-Krufi, says a minority can head to court if they disagree with the service's position. But Minority Leader Ato Forson insists they must be allowed to present their petition to the Governor of the Central Bank. Let's head to the ground and speak with my colleague Maxwell Agbagba, who joins us live. Maxwell, what can you report from where you are? Maxwell Agbagba is at the protests where these protesters are campaigning and protesting over losses at the Bank of Ghana. Maxwell? All right, we'll get Maxwell Agbagba to bring us more from the protest ground. As you can see on your screens, number of people. I can see Sam Jata George, who is MP for Ningo Pram Pram, addressing the crowd. You can see NDC Chairman Asiedun Ketia. Well, Maxwell Agbagba is on the ground. Maxwell, bring us up to speed. What is happening at the moment?
Hello. Yes, Aisha. So, like I was saying, addressing the crowd now is Ningo Pram Pram MP Sam George addressing the protesters. The protesters are yet to move from the convergence point, which is your brass spot. Thousands of Ghanaians have converged. Many of them wearing red and black. Many of them holding placards. I can see some of the placards here. They say enough of the family and friends. There's another one here that says the NPP is an organized crime syndicate. Another one says we cannot afford light bills and water bills. Another one here says God will not dwell in the cathedral tainted with criminality and wrongdoing. Earlier we heard from the minority leader, Castel Ato Forson, who vowed that they will not leave, the protesters will not leave the Bank of Ghana until the governor, Dr. Addison, comes out to receive a petition. They are yet to move. The crowd is yet to move, but we're told that they will be moving in the next 5 minutes. They should be moving after this address by Ningo Pram Pram MP Sam George. You can see Chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedun Ketia, also there. You can see OccupyBoG also there. You can also see former
and the central bank in
Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Peter Otokuna, also there. Let's hear what Sam George is saying.
The governor of the Bank of Ghana came last. The reason why we say he came last, in 2022, the World Bank and the IMF said that Ghana's currency was the worst performing currency in the whole world. It is the job of the governor of the bank to manage the currency. But you see, the governor is an appointee of Dr. Bawumia and Nana Akufo-Addo. And in 2017, when Nana won, he went to greet Nana Asante-Hene. And Nana Asante-Hene said something and advised Nana Osi, any of the thing, and I Ghana follow to about here John Mahama. And say you are to about Mawa, Beshe Omani Suye. And now, a come any of the thing, and I have a Hano. Because in 2016, the NDC was not perfect. But compared to today, the NDC was heaven. And so if Nana Asante-Hene said, in 2016, a copy of the Fonti and I have to see Mahama. In 2024, a copy of the Fonti, you better MPP. At the time, I'll come to an end here because there are many speakers. But the last point I want to make to you, at a time that the Bank of Ghana is coming last among all the banks in the world, the Bank of Ghana is paying winning bonus to themselves. They paid almost 85 million to themselves as bonus. They traveled with a cost of 97 million Ghana cedis. Ask yourself, why did NDC use over 130 million Ghana cedis to maintain cars? How much did STC use in 2022? And so, what can be also? What can be also? What can be also? What can be what can be Apostle. Let me just announce this demonstration that we are doing on behalf of all Ghanaians, including the Ghana Police Service. We are not here to fight with the police because the police go to the same market with us. We know that because of their uniform, they can't join the demonstration. But even their uniform today, they are also wearing black. So we are demonstrating with them. We are asking them to work peacefully with us, and we will work peacefully with them. And so it is a peaceful demonstration. There will be no violence. And we say, Apostle, Edison, Apostle, Bawumia, Apostle, Kenoporiata, Apostle, Nanado, Apostle.
Just had that address there from Lingo Pram MP, Sam George.
So we'll take a word
there has been a lot of singing here.
Honorable OccupyBoG from OccupyBoG. The member of
OccupyBoG is the next person to speak. Member of Parliament, Public Myself. Let's hear what he has to say. I've also seen other members of Parliament, minority members of Parliament here. Northern MP Samuel Okudzeto Blackwell is here. James Agalga, Rashid Pelpuo, Medina MP Francis Xavier Zosu is also here. The minority in Parliament is well represented here at the converging point for this protest. Remember, we're still here at the Obra spot. The protest train is yet to move as thousands of Ghanaians, all of them, myself, Member of Parliament. He's speaking Ga. Essentially what he's saying is the Bank of Ghana has failed all Ghanaians. Children, women, men, everyone is suffering. Essentially that's what he's saying. Let's see if we can get close and speak to Peter Otokuno. Let's Oh, I have here with me here. I have here with me the ranking member. The ranking member for the Health Committee. And I hear him signaling that Blake Massad MP to talk about dialysis. Himself, he wants an opportunity to climb the track. He wants to address the crowd.
You care for your country.
He is concerned about dialysis.
You are concerned. You are getting involved.
Oko Vanderpool.
To
touch on the matter.
Police stop. We are Ghanaians. We are not foreigners. We have a right to demonstrate. Because enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Ghanaians, enough is enough. No one many, one much better. Waham, Aji Wabe. You are the governor, I agree. You are the no one many can step down. No one time go papa, no junior. Talk no manyaba. So they will get down and I'll take another set. The General Secretary is around. Please, can you draw closer? Bernard Mona, if you are around. Bernard Mona, if you are around, can you draw closer? So, the next speaker will come from the Western region. Honorable Akando is going to speak in Akan.
So you can see Kwabena Meta Akando, the ranking member,
please let's listen to Honorable
the Health Committee in Parliament. Kwabena Meta Akando.
But the answer to see Yenina, Ghana, Koyina, Gamboyani, any ano Antumubia. When I dance to Akufuado, any Baumia, Abu Pushia, Abu Owo, Aminam, Mutiadi, Emra, Bank of Ghana, Kessica, Amamebo Parliament, Amaniano, Sambrena. Nessika, I was a little vaccine. Near the Bonkola, young woman, Yankia, a man to grow measles. Actually, I can say, I want my enemy. I know I see Sabotia. Kwalebu Kwasi, so Obia Baba Dialysis, Dear Okia, 765 million, 765 dollars. Nipa baako bi a wanyɛ kura na ɔtɔ yɛ mpɛ mmienu anaa mpɛ mmiɛnsa dialysis. Ɛkyerɛ sɛ within 1 week wobɛyɛ more than 2,000 Ghana cedis for dialysis nko ara. Ɛkyerɛ sɛ within 1 month wobɛyɛ more than 9,000 Ghana cedis for dialysis nko ara. Me a me gyina ha yi yɛ member of parliament. Me a meyɛ member of parliament mpo mentumi ntua saa sika no. Na bisa wo sɛ Oma me betime atia. O papa betime atia. Million ene nanado. Wo de tax aba amobi ayare no ko e dan kura. Omo say ya agene tax. Abaya be si ko nyina. Health equipment, consumables. You will be there for the tax exemption. If you won't grab or money more, you are in fact want to. Not going to buy or so petition. And the eating dialysis, eating consumables, and I'm not going to say taxes episode. I'm going to get you. Minubianu, get a back, and I'm not going to Western North, Upper East, the whole of the region, one dialysis for 2 journey home. It will be a area, a better thing to be a that demonstration, the country not in the Baobia, and going beyond the Pasua. Get back to me, after dialysis machine. I will wait for our government. Something graduates, and 4 of the government for the past 6 years, and 7 years, they won't pass over here also. I buy here, over the power buying. The property you ask them, I buy right here, or see you now, you go with them. Thank you, Lord.
Just had ranking member of the health committee, Parliamentar Kando, addressing the crowd on the dialysis crisis. And you know, stories about how a lot of people are suffocating under the high cost of dialysis. Speaking now is Comfort Doyo Kujo. She's a member of parliament for Adan constituency.
Bank of Ghana, resign and I how can see Ghana? And then the question I have John Dramani Mahama,
So there you have it, the OccupyBoG of Ghana protests there. You've heard key members of the opposition NDC speaking over there. You saw the MP for Ningo Pram, Sam George, who was charged, speaking to the crowd, accusing government of mismanaging the economy. You also heard MP for Ablekuma South, Oko Vanderpoy, also addressing the crowd. Earlier we saw chairman of the NDC. They all protesting over the losses at the Bank of Ghana, which they say has affected the economy. We'll be taking you back to that protest scene where my colleague Maxwell Abagba is stationed for us. We'll be bringing you sights and sounds as it unfolds. Right now, let's talk about the dialysis crisis, because over 90% of Ghanaian kidney failure patients who desperately need dialysis are being denied access to this life-saving treatment. This is according to a yet-to-be-published study titled 50 Years of Hemodialysis in Ghana, Current Status, Utilization and Cost of Dialysis Services. This study, authored by a nephrologist at KNUST, Elliot Coranting Tano, and his dedicated team, has unveiled statistics that expose the harsh reality of the situation. I've been joined in the studio by my colleague Raymond Akwa, who will break things down for your understanding. Then we can understand the crisis at hand. Raymond, let's start with the statistics. And first, let's look at the number of dialysis in the whole country.
So the report suggests that there has been an increase of dialysis centers from 15 in 2016 to 51 currently. However, 11 centers actually shut down or are yet to actually open. In the Greater Accra region, which has the highest number of them, there's a high density of 8 centers per 1,000 kilometers squared, compared to 0.29 per 1,000 kilometers in the Ashanti. The high concentration in the Greater Accra region actually makes it reflect the population density that we have in the region. So of the 51 total centers, the private sector has expanded much faster than the public sector. So there are more dialysis centers in the public sector, as in public hospitals and related areas, than in the private than the public. Now, there are 37 private centers across the country and only 14 public centers. So the private centers are 72% of the dialysis centers that we have in the country. Now, private sector growth has been over 235% since 2015, when they were first introduced, the private operators in dialysis. In comparison, the public sector has grown by around 80% since 1972, when the first dialysis center was actually opened in this country. Now, there's more that you should know. Regionally, Greater Accra dominates with 33 out of the 51. Which means that 65% of all the places you can do dialysis is in the Greater Accra region. After that, Ashanti has 9 centers. Now, of the 40 currently operating centers where dialysis can happen, 27 which are private and 13 which are also public. There's also something that we should know keenly about them. There are 9 non-operational centers that have shut down, and 2 new private centers which is beginning to open, which will soon be opening in the Greater Accra region. If you put it together, it says a picture that having Greater Accra region alone, having 65 across the country, there are 7 regions in this country that do not have at all, which is problematic. Problematic because they have to move to other places or more expensive places to actually get dialysis done.
So now you've talked about the geographical distribution. Let's look at the capacity of the centers in these regions you talk about.
So we have so far, in all of the 40 currently operating, 299 dialysis machines. Yes. So if you break it down, this is 9.7 machines per every million population. So if you break down our population, for every 1 million people, there are only 9.7, about 10 machines.
For the one to save the 1 million people.
Yes, that's what it actually means. There's more to that, though. I mean, of course, this is far below what Ghana is needed to serve that population. there's an estimation that there are 15,400 patients with kidney failure that require dialysis.
Over 15,000
yes,
patients.
Yes. That should be actually going through dialysis. Now, if you put it properly here, we are now talking about a median number of per machine, 6.
To one machine.
Yes.
6 people to a machine,
to a machine
at any given time.
Yes. This may make it look like, oh, that's good because it's a limited number. But it's not dispersed properly.
Okay.
The northern region, for example, has one center.
Okay.
Which has just 5 machines. So 2.3 or about 3 machines to the population per million in there. So every 1 million people in the northern region, there are just 3 machines for them to use.
Or 2.5, if
yes,
you want
if
to
you
say
want to,
that.
I mean, take it to that actual end. Yeah. Now the Bono East region has one center, and only 3 machines for the 1.2 million people in that region. So only 3 machines for the entire population of 1.2 million.
That's
assuming even
woefully
50 people.
inadequate.
Yes, that's where the problem is. Even in where we say is the best served region, we are talking about the Greater Accra region.
Okay.
The 227 machines work out to only 50 machines per million. And that's equally low.
Okay.
Now, let me compare it to global picture so that we know where we really
are.
Ghana's capacity is extremely low, and I'm making the point that the US has over 2,000 dialysis machines per million population.
Interesting.
For every million population in the US, they have 2,000
Over
dialysis machines.
2,000 machines compared to about 9 or 10.
Yes,
which is even not evenly distributed.
Yes, and which are 65% of them in the Greater
Accra region.
Now, if you move it along that, most average high income or low income countries have 1,000 per million.
Oh, wow.
1,000 machines per million.
Wow.
With such limited...
That means 10 people to one machine,
yes.
which is acceptable in I mean, compared to our situation, we would manage that.
So with such limited capacity, most of the centers, they are unable to manage the demands. And let's not get it wrong. People prefer public to the private sectors for dialysis because public is cheaper than the private ones, regardless of what we complain about consistently with such a median. Now, one of the other things that should be of interest was that the limited dialysis capacity has been a major problem for utilization and the quality of care for kidney failure patients.
Okay.
So people necessarily will choose alternatives like going to other places to seek healthcare, or not seeking healthcare at all because of the cost involved. But if it is not within their scope, because mostly if it's not within their scope, they are less likely to get any education about it.
That's where I bring in the bit about accessibility. We know that we don't have a number of them. Most of them are centered in the Greater Accra, and it's not evenly distributed.
Yeah.
But the accessibility is another conversation we can have. Is it accessible? If you listen to people who say they go to Korle Bu has now reduced their renal units to emergency cases because of some of the problems they're facing right now. How accessible are these machines to people who really need them?
So the report puts the figure that even though they expect more than 15,000 Ghanaians should be seeking for dialysis care,
services,
currently there are 1,195 dialysis patients.
Okay.
And 299 machines total.
Okay.
So the ratio indicates that the dialysis centers are operating at near or even over capacity, given the recommended ratios. There's another compounding factor. Let's look at it keenly.
Okay.
There is data that suggests that on average, you pay about 4,000 per month. In fact, there were in the studio of Joy FM today.
Okay.
There were others, the patients who were indicating that they pay more than just that.
Okay.
Their indication is that they are paying within the range of 6,000 to 7,000. 6,512 to 7,000.
For treatment.
For treatment, because it is not just the dialysis itself, that's the end of the conversation.
Okay.
There are other medication, and mostly you may be on dialysis because you have acute or what they call a chronic kidney problem.
Okay.
But that means that there might be another underlying factor which has already created a problem, like diabetes, like hypertension. So if you put all of these factors together, we are looking at having to pay more than 6,512 CD as the cost for assessing this.
Okay.
Over the year, if you do that cost variation, we are talking about some 78,000. How many Ghanaians? There's a study that suggests that 70% of Ghanaians are paid less than 3,000 in the public sector.
True.
So if the gentleman is paid less than 3,000, how did they afford dialysis alone, which is double their salary?
6,000. Okay.
So, and over the year, about 78,000. How do they rake in all of this amount of money? Where would they raise the money from to be able to afford it? That is why some people then choose to, instead of having 2 or 3, because the explanation is that you need that consistently done to clear your system. They will do it once or not do it at all. They think that if they resort to other forms of medication and other things, it would replace the kidney's function in their system or rebuild their kidney properly. Of course, we are being told clearly that if the kidney breaks down, you need an external kidney, which is the dialysis machine, to do the job of the kidney. But because they cannot afford to go through this and pay this amount of money, that is why all of these calls are being made. But you look at it properly. If the average salary is way out of the reach of the dialysis patient, some will necessarily die because they cannot access it.
So I'm hearing
beyond it being very far from them, even if I'm able to travel from a very remote area to the city to go and get a dialysis machine to use, I need to pay through my nose.
And so that means that even if it was at my doorstep, I still won't be able to afford it.
And that's why on the National Health Insurance Scheme.
Exactly. And I'm hearing that some people have had to reduce their intake of water and reduce their intake of food just so they will not overwork the kidney, so they wouldn't have to go to the dialysis center.
So input output,
which could affect
the quality of health and the quality of life they are supposed to have.
Exactly. So that could even bring about other health effects. So in all of this, I think government has a big role to play. What's government support in all of this?
So the conversations were on different levels. One, at first, the conversations about what to tax and what not to tax. I've heard analysis that if I had hypertension right now, I am paying more than 2 times the amount of money I used to pay for drugs.
Okay.
That grouping, hypertension, which then developed into a problem with the kidney later on because of the impact of that he didn't know. So he's treating hypertension with drug differences. They moved on to now come and treat kidney problems and go on dialysis. If the cost of those drugs for hypertension has gone up astronomically because of the times we find ourselves, and of course there's exchange rate and all of those other factors involved, then also kidney cost is also on the ascendancy, like we've been told and been discussing over the period. Certainly somebody will be asking, is it possible that we make some of these drugs and consumables connected to kidney care free for every machine that's supposed to be delivering that? Or if government feels that people would abuse that system of giving them tax exemption and also giving them the no duty payment, why don't we then give the subsidy to the patient? So a special card for kidney patients or those going through dialysis so that they don't have to pay, or it is heavily subsidized. You get my point? That is how we can intervene from the top. Healthcare systems work this way. You put in preventive measures. You advise people. You encourage them. Stop the things that will get you there. But we've been told that there's a lot more than just having to abuse alcohol or do the other things that will compromise your system. There is even the possibility that you being involved in an accident may have an impact on your kidney, which has absolutely nothing to do with the lifestyle that you led. So that is also important that we put in not only the preventive measures and speak to people more about education. We also need the other measures, which will be reducing the disease burden and reducing the cost of seeking treatment so that we can encourage people to seek treatment. Perhaps we should start from the cost of checking whether your kidneys are okay. if we made it almost free or even at a very lower cost, the people do not have to wait till they have swollen feet or any of the other extraordinary signs of danger before they actually get in. The people who are diabetic, the people who are actually hypertensive are asked to consistently go for some checkup on their kidney too, because it might be impacted by the existing condition that you are having. Perhaps we reduce the burden of those having to get to the dialysis level before we now have to put them on that expensive process of treating them. So if we tackle it from along the value chain, every element would not only look at reducing the cost for it, but asking people to seek early care, asking people to check regularly, so we can prevent a degeneration of the status of the what they call the kidney. Perhaps it will help. Of course, we have discussed the tax element. We have discussed the alternatives of even giving people the opportunity to have, if it's cuts, if it's specific treatment plans, then they can be helped out that way.
I am also happy to hear that the National Health Insurance Scheme is saying that it would include dialysis on the NHIA, the scheme, so that people can assess as to how beneficial that will be.
You are being more optimistic. What I've heard them say is that they are considering that.
They are considering.
Of course, they have to also consider the impact on the entire scheme and the amount of money they so, for example,
get annually.
2 million and they are making other things free. Would it mean that they will need extra sources of money?
Don't forget that.
Suggested that we should, for example, redirect all the monies from the COVID levy that we have been taking, even though COVID is no longer a major factor today, into kidney care specifically, or support the NHIA, because the NHIA appears underfunded consistently.
It is.
It has difficulties with delivering on its mandate, and consistently there's complaints that we have heard.
Even with the ordinary diseases that the NHIA takes care of it, I mean, it gets to a point where you are only giving paracetamol syrup. When you need antibiotics and some expensive drugs, you would have to get them on your own. And let's look at dialysis. Now, we are hearing that Kolebu is charging 765, even though the CEO came to say it's not approved. I mean, give or take, if that is how much is being charged, and this is not on national health insurance. I mean,
that'll be a heavy burden. I get that.
I mean, we have to be real.
Except that what we do with our system is that if you want to find a way, government cannot have tax and import duties on the products that's supposed to also be on the National Health Insurance Scheme. It's almost like robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, it is.
So then, if you had reduced the taxes, if you actually removed the import duties, it would make sense to have a system where then when you put it on the NHIA, it will be at a reduced cost. It will not be like the private person providing the resource. That is one part. And I'm saying people have said there are additional sources of funding that could easily be redirected to this.
Like the COVID
levy, for example. We are still paying. We've not been told when we are going to stop paying. So if we direct that alone and say we have selected some of these 2 or 3 of these disease conditions, specifically under NHI being taken care of, or set up an individual institution which will provide the support for it. It's easy to identify people with that, give them direct and targeted healthcare, which will then solve that problem. Of course, after dealing with all the prevention and the education and the other things that come in the value chain.
It's interesting, I mean, but the question also remains, how difficult is it for government to give waivers to some of these things that come in to treat patients with kidney diseases? If we can give waivers to like BoGs, some foreign companies, we give waivers.
That even international bodies have complained
exactly.
about that.
Why can't we give waivers to these?
We give it to hotels. We give it to, I mean, see, I've heard the Kolebu CEO say that there's something like that in place. They were just in a hurry. That's why in their most recent procurement, they didn't comply with that. I think what is required is we getting back to the system where everybody's guaranteed that because these are national emergency health issues, there's a reason why we believe in a health insurance system. The UK's NHS takes care of dialysis and kidney care. So if you are in the United Kingdom today, in fact, I recall in 2020 March, just before COVID became an issue, the conversation in that country was that, what do we do with the kidney condition of our people? Because Finland and Co are supplying the machines to people at home. and that it was backward for them to continue on that path.
I will come back to you on that conversation because it's very interesting. But Maxwell Agbagba is there. He is at the BoG protest, and he's joining us with some updates. Maxwell, what can you tell us? What's the latest? Hello, Maxwell. What's the latest from the OccupyBoG protest? All right, so as you can see on your screens, we are trying to bring you live feed from the OccupyBoG protest, where you have some key NDC members and other political parties who have joined this protest. They said they are protesting against the losses of the Bank of Ghana. Maxwell Agbagba, what's the updates from the BoG protest? Yes.
Hello, Aisha.
Maxwell, go ahead. Maxwell, I can hear you.
Various speakers have taken turns to address the crowd here. We've had NDC members of Parliament, Roxy Nelson Bafiamako spoke earlier. We also had ranking member of the Health Committee. Babna Mintakando also addressed the thousands of protesters gathered here. Because dialysis that is driving a lot of persons with kidney conditions to death. Remember, it has been topical, and here on JoyNews, we've put a focus on the issue, that dialysis crisis. The crowd is now waiting for the NDC National Chairman Johnson Asiedu Nketia to address the crowd before they move. It was expected that the crowd would have moved about an hour ago, but that did not happen. They're still here at our brass spot. Now we have a rep from Fix the Country showing solidarity, addressing the crowd. Let's hear what the rep here is saying.
Some of them were wearing earrings in Ghana police. They beat them up. So today, we are here to support you guys. We are really here to support you guys. And also, using this opportunity to call upon the Catholic bishops in Ghana here, especially the Holy Father Pope Francis. Currently, the Catholic bishops are having conference in Rome. So Francis to call all the Catholic bishops in Ghana that they must go on the streets of Ghana to demonstrate against bad governance of this corrupt bishop, together with the entire priest. The leader of the protest could be Archbishop Amapopo. The president could be Bishop Adiasari and John Louis. In my own parish street, Emmanuel Sally put together with the assistant. And there's a house for the Frederick Ajima must come back from.
So that was Maxwell Agbagba with some updates from the OccupyBoG protest. We'll be bringing you more of that as and when we get updates from that protest. But let's get on to other stories. The houseboy who allegedly murdered his employer at Apaso near Sokoban in the Ashanti region has pleaded guilty to stealing over 167,000 Ghana cedis from a hotel owner while working as a receptionist. Journalist at 22 made headlines last month for allegedly stabbing to death his employer 6 days after he got employed by 35-year-old Stella Osei, also known as Princess Efua Ahinkan. With the help of accomplices, he sold his madam's Kia Sportage vehicle after bolting with bags of rice, cooking oil, and other assorted items. He used some of the proceeds to buy a Toyota Vitz car with registration number GS3107-2023, but in the latest case, Alista pleaded guilty with explanation to 2 counts of stealing contrary to Section 124 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960. Ohementeria filed this report.
According to prosecution led by ASP Stephen Ofori, the accused in 2022 was employed as a hotel receptionist at Bantama after he followed up on an advertisement for a vacancy. But after a month of working with the complainant, who is also the owner of the hotel, Alesta surprisingly stopped going to work. In July 2023, the accused person returned to the complainant for the second time to seek employment. The complainant allowed him to start work immediately because of his previous working relationship. On August 6, 2023, the complainant gave her Infinix Note 8 mobile phone to the accused person to help her with some settings. The accused person, however, bolted with the mobile phone and went ahead to withdraw an amount of 167,660 from the complainant's Absa Bank account using the mobile app on the phone. The complainant reported the matter to the police for investigations, and the accused person was arrested from his hideout in Accra. ASP Stephen Ofori told the Asokwa Circuit Court, presided by her Anna Vida Yabua, Alista admitted the offense and told police investigators how he spent the amount by using part of the money to rent and furnish an apartment. The court, however, deferred sentence to Friday, October 6, 2023, after the accused person pleaded guilty. Lead prosecutor ASP Ofori is happy at the development.
He has been in Kumasi here with the same pretension to work as a receptionist for one Madame Gloria. And in the process, that's last year, July, and then accessed the phone and I was able to withdraw 167,660 from the woman's account at Absa Bank. So that was the case that we have brought him before the Asokwa Circuit Court here today. But he has pleaded guilty. He has now been convicted of the offense, the 2 counts, the mobile phone and the amount of their money. But the sentence has been deferred to Friday for sentence. As the facts being read to the court there's no way he could deny the charge. So he himself thought it wise to admit his guilt in order not to waste the prosecution's time.
Meanwhile, Alista is expected to reappear before the Asokwa District Court this Tuesday on murder charges for the second time after being remanded into police custody. From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Ohementeria reporting.
Let's now take you back to the Bank of Ghana protests. We are told that there's an address by Communications Office of the NDC, Sami Jainfi, and we'll be getting right there for the updates. Maxwell Ababa is also there to bring us more on that. Right, so we'll go to the protest venue very soon. But before that, her journey began in defiance, battling hunger and homelessness to pursue education against her father's wishes for a life in farming. Today, Naomi provides not just shelter, but a sense of family to children from diverse backgrounds, defying all odds and economic challenges. Here's Naomi's story of hope.
It is dinner time at the Royal Seed Home, a shelter at Papase in the Central Region. 80 hungry mouths are ready to be fed. Meet Naomi, the lifeline to hundreds of street and special needs children who might have otherwise been left without a home.
We have been getting the children from the Department of Social Welfare to the home now. And as I'm talking with you now, having almost 70-75 children, we got to know that some of them has epilepsy, and some of them has a little bit mentally challenged, and some of them are children in need that they cannot do anything. Some also has a stroke. As I'm talking with you now, I'm having a baby which is 6, 7 to 8 months who has a stroke.
But Naomi's journey to becoming their savior was not an easy one. 26 years ago, she battled hunger and homelessness because she defied her father's wishes to pursue an education. The father wanted her to be a farmhand, but she wanted to do more than just farming. Naomi, from a poverty-stricken background, longed for a brighter future. She rebelled and enrolled in a vocational institute in Kaswa, but was often forced to spend lonely nights on the streets.
Because of 9 Ghana cedis, in 1993 it was 9,000, but now we call it 9 cedis. So I end up in Gates after we start from school, and I became a street girl for some days. 3-4 days. So through that, I asked myself, when I was crying, hungry, thirsty, if I didn't die and I survive, what can I do to serve my siblings on streets who are in this situation?
After graduation, she worked as a hairdresser, but she became passionate about taking care of homeless and vulnerable children because of her personal experience. In 1997, Naomi founded the Royal Seed Home, which now spans an expansive 20 acres of land. It has become a sanctuary for children from diverse backgrounds, a place where they find not just shelter, but also a sense of family. The children here looked happy and at home, so much so that many of them, who were abandoned by their biological families, have refused to go back.
I came to Royal Seed Home at the age of 3 years. I was a street child. I was living with my dad, but my dad was a drunkard. So someone saw me and brought me to Royal Seed Orphanage Home. So I completed my JHS at Royal Seed Orphanage Home and completed my SHS at Accra Technical Training Center, which I offered auto body repair, which is car spraying. And I later completed Accra Technical University, which I offered automobile engineering, and I completed 2020. So I feel like it's my own family.
All my life I've been staying with people from one family to another family, all in search of survival. The last family I stayed with was not liking the idea of me going to school, because that wasn't the mission, or that wasn't their perspective, of taking me. They wanted me to work, but I wanted to go to school too. So it became it turned to a problem for me, an issue. So my teachers thought it was. So they took me to the nearest police station, that was Kaswa Police Station. Then through that, I found myself in Royal Seed now. Well, I just thank God for everything, because there is no load on my shoulder, let's just say that way. And for here, I get what I want.
Since I'm not staying with my parents, so life been in my life stage, it's okay for me, because for Naomi and her family, what they are doing for me is more than what my parents can do.
Despite the love and joy that permeates the Royal Seed Home, it hasn't been all smooth sailing for Naomi and her mission. COVID-19 and the challenging economic times have made it increasingly difficult to keep her vision alive.
At times it's not easy because I have workers that I need to pay them. Yeah, although it's not, we don't call that salary, something like allowance. It's not easy. How to even give them allowance is not easy. Even as I'm talking with you now, I have to still settle some people. So at times if Money has been a big issue as I'm talking with you now.
Naomi says God has been good and never allows the children to go hungry. Just before we left, some benevolent individuals and churches donated some goodies to the home.
I've been saying, if the work is not a calling, I need to hang up and then find a place to live. But anytime the other side, what I hear is, you are not a God. So keep on. So that always, and my mommy also would talk to me. Me baby, my daughter,